today's different. Today's podcast with Daniel Pozas, intuitive and energy healer. We actually just sat down and talked while we were waiting to start the podcast, and the conversation started right away.
Right, so we started rolling, which was different for us.
Yeah, really. And then went. I was just fascinating.
He's just so, he was such a humble guest. You know what I mean?
Really.
He just really had this great energy about him. I learned so much, and I can't wait to go to PALMA Collective, really, and experience some of these healers and practices.
Just a totally different way of looking at medicine and healing, and not that he promotes it by any means as being the only way by any means. He really as he is actually he has a degree in clinical psychology and psychoanalysis. He utilizes Western medicine as well as Eastern medicine, and he does it in a very meaningful, enjoyable way. It just seems at peace.
Yeah, I could have spent the whole time on ayahuasca and cacao.
Yeah, right.
That was so interesting. Anyway, this is a good one.
Enjoy it.
Yep.
But what do I know? I'm just a vagina doctor.
He transformed his way to the perception of life,
wow.
like his understanding of reality.
That's what Lenny says. He's just it's really remarkable what people experience there.
Yeah.
So eye-opening.
Eye-opening, but also, I think what is talked the most with my father was ego destroyer, like dissolving. Like the idea that he had of who he was, it was not longer existent. Like he was like, oh my God, I am not only this. Like I am. Mm-hmm. He kind of like stopped identifying himself with the idea or the thoughts that he had of like, oh, I am a male that is 23 years old and I like yoga and I like spirituality and this is my name, this is my family. All of that was
gone.
Wow.
Well, I think I did it before Rami came on our podcast. I actually had the therapy. And so my experience was unusual, I think. But I had that same feeling, like we all kind of put ourselves in a box of who we are. But really, there's so much more. So I had that same conclusion after doing it.
Yeah, it is. It's quite interesting.
Really powerful.
And this is very well connected to what I practice.
Yeah.
Right.
It is very well connected with what I practice because it touches a field where mind has not, there's not a role for the mind. Like there is, but a teacher of mine in Toronto once said to me, Daniel, the mind only has one purpose, and it is a tool to discern that allows us the possibility of discernment, like positive, negative, black, white, or in between. But we should not use the mind to navigate certain frequencies, certain dynamics. Like that, you use intuition, you use body, like there's other cues for that. So why am I saying this is because once you know that you are not what you're thinking or your thoughts are influencing the perception of reality, if you know that it takes part on how you perceive reality, so then you don't listen to that.
Yeah.
You allow yourself to be like, okay, this is what I'm witnessing, but I like, is it real?
Is it real?
And it jumps to, and I'll stop after this. And but I was just listening to. I wanted to get in the frequency of like, okay, let's go and dive into this. I first heard of these kind of practices reading Alejandro Jodorowsky's book Psychomagic. He is a Chilean author and cinematographer. He actually made El Topo,
El Topo.
El Topo, and the magic sacred mountain.
Is that a movie?
There are movies like John Lennon liked El Topo a lot, so he actually he was the one who gave Jodorowsky money to the sacred mountain.
Oh.
And he started talking and working with Pachita. Pachita was a very powerful healer, curandera, and she's like the representation for me of the line that I follow, which is she was just a medium.
Mm-hmm.
But the first, and this is why I'm mentioning her, because Jodorowsky said that Pachita, or mentions that Pachita used to say that in order for this to work, you need to believe. Like there's also that level of that element has to take place, but it's hard to believe if you have this background or these ideas of how the world works. So what you believe in is just trusting. Like, okay, I trust that this can work. It might be a placebo effect or not, but if you feel the effect, that's when it takes place. So the only reason I'm mentioning this because the component of what the mind, the element or the role of the mind, especially in a very Western culture, that everything has to be measurable.
Yes.
So in this realm, the only element to measure this, the effect and the actual that is real, is how you feel.
Yeah, and most people, I think they have that moment of being really open to that, what you just mentioned, like, wait, this isn't really real, and I have control over this, and I'm in my power with this. But then the bigger part is their mind. So that's a tiny little thing that happens and it feels really good. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah. But then the mind, it occupies way more space than that one moment. Like we don't give that one moment enough space, right? So it gets, I mean, I do it all the time where like, oh yeah, okay, I feel really good right now. But then I go lay down at night and I'm like, and my mind's just now completely taken over.
I think we've been recording this as we've been chatting.
Yes.
And so I'm going to sort of do this podcast a little differently from what we usually do, because usually I would just start by welcoming you to the Vagina Doctor podcast, Daniel Pozas.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome now. And we got going right away. And so I'm glad we recorded that because it's, it explains, I didn't want to miss any of it. And so I will now start in the way that we might have done before, but I want to include all of that as well. So for our listeners, Daniel Pozas of PALMA Colectiva, welcome. I am fascinated to talk to you because I am looking to you expanding my very limited knowledge of what you are and what you do. And essentially, you're an intuitive and energy healer. Is that correct?
That is the most or the closest term that I came with to explain in a Western context.
Right.
What's what I do. A friend of mine says that it's a little limited. A friend who knows my work.
Okay.
But yes, that's the closest. Yes.
And when a moment ago you were talking about being a believer before anything could really work, is that the same as just having an open mind?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't have to be convinced before you take the step. You just need to convince yourself that you're going to listen and you're going to have an open mind to it. You're not going to be defensive in anything you're being told.
Absolutely. And yet, the presence of energy, and in this case, spirit, it is there whether you believe it or not.
Oh, of course, yes.
So what am I mentioning this? Yes, in order for it to work, yes, this openness is a requirement, quotation marks, but there has been, and I have witnessed people who are very skeptical, and all of a sudden they leave the room after a healing happened and they burst into tears or they feel very drained and like how, like I was just there sitting. So even if you do not believe it, it impacts you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, like, yes, there is a big component in, like anything. You want something, you need to reach for it. So it is very important, that part. But there's cases where it doesn't matter. You were there just by chance and you got splashed with the magic.
So you picked up something. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. So you're originally from Mexico.
I am.
You have a degree in clinical psychology
Yes.
and psychoanalysis.
Yes.
But then you sort of veered more into this, which was basically deepening your studies and to understand non-Western spiritual approaches. Is that putting it
Yes.
accurately?
When I started, I didn't finish my master's program here in the U.S., but I had a year in Antioch University. And one of the things I did not like about the medical model in the U.S., it was that everything is labeling people with disorders that, like, to me, people are people, not labels. And the second thing was the medication.
Yeah.
Like, I did not like the DSM and the approach of how everything is kind of, like, in my perception, built for a medical industry that is about profit. And same with pharmacology, so in the sense that they're just giving you something, but it's really just taking care of symptoms. And just to be shorter with this, I just remember, and this is how I got into this. My teacher, who initiated me in this work, she was diagnosed with postpartum depression. And they tried all the Western approaches. Nothing helped her until an aunt of hers took her to a healer on the neighborhood that they lived. And this woman was the one who got her out of it. But not only got her out of it, what she described to her is that she had this gift. And then basically, to speak more in a different language, she had a third eye open.
Okay.
So she just needed to learn how to gauge it, like how to navigate what she was open to perceive and see. So that for me was like, oh, there is other approaches. If smudging helps, if going for a walk helps, why will we be approaching mental health from a model that is just medicating or labeling? Just there's mindfulness. UCLA has a very amazing program in mindfulness, and they have a lot of research on how you can impact wellness through mindfulness. So I wanted to take that route because I was very interested in psychoanalysis, but I didn't want to have someone in the couch for years when all they need is just to go for runs or wake up earlier.
Yeah.
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 Well, in defense a little of the Western medical system, there's a time factor.
Yes.
And the in-depth approach takes time and intuition. And I think that one of the faults of the medical profession, particularly in our culture here, is that, as you say, people get labeled, but it's the simplest way to see a problem and try to fix it. It's not the best way by any means, but it's what happens. And so fortunately, there are people like yourself who can take more time and do things in a frankly, a more logical way, and not as much of a what I call a cookie cutter approach that requires diagnosis and therapy.
I have something.
It's fascinating.
When you guys did your pre-podcast phone call, I kind of popped in for a moment and I heard something you said that where you're from in Mexico. Where are you from?
Querétaro. Querétaro is in central Mexico.
In central Mexico.
Yes.
People, when they're going through something or they're sick, they see the equivalent of a Western medicine doctor, and they see somebody like yourself.
Yes, I mean, it's all over the country. And I would dare to say that it's not only in Mexico, but this is over the globe. And I could speak of Latin America countries. Nowadays there's like this division of people that are very like, we have a lot of influence from the Western.
Yeah.
Even the schools now are based in this perspective. But there's a lot like grandmas who will be like, go with Doña Juanita. Like she'll I don't know, do a limpia on you, like smudging or like just clearing your energy. So there's these approaches, and there's people who actually go to both, as you were mentioning or I was mentioning that time. So there is this like holistic approach sometimes. For instance, I am grateful for Western medicine, like, and I do have to recognize that not everything it can be tackled and approached from where I work. Like I have had people coming to me where I'm like, luckily I have a little bit of the training to see like this person is not stable. I cannot, like, just for her own sake or their own sake, go to a doctor. I am not an MD.
Yeah.
You need to go to a doctor and perhaps a psychiatrist to get you stable so you are well. And then if you desire, we can continue from there. But yes, there's a holistic approach to this.
Yeah, I've found that in my practice, that patients have come to me with other ideas or asking me what I think about them, going in another direction to try and make a diagnosis or get a therapy. And my approach has been over decades has been absolutely look at this. I don't understand it. I don't know about it, but try it, look into it, see what happens, and if it works, great. It's and it's not that I don't believe it; it's that I don't understand it, and that's one of the reasons why you're here, is to help me a little bit of more of the understanding.
And is this integrative medicine? Is that where you categorize it, or I'm asking both of you?
Yes, I'd say so.
Okay, because we had a patient yesterday wanting a referral to somebody, and I told her I'd email her somebody. And I think, and I'm not sure what she's wanting to work on and what she's, but we do get asked that question a lot. And I'm not sure what umbrella integrated medicine, what falls from that.
I think it's a very vague term, and it's
they're looking for alternative to Western medicine.
And I think alternative is actually a better word than integrative medicine, because there are other ways. There's more than two ways, certainly more than one way, obviously, but there's more than two ways, and I think people need to reach out and look into those pathways. There's a book, and I don't actually remember the author's name, but it's called Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow. And I wonder whether what they're describing there is thinking fast is you get some information and you react on it right away. You make you come to a conclusion about the information you've just got. But if you slowed it down and you thought more about it, you may very well come up with a different conclusion, different idea. And it's the whole book was about how we get influenced by just certain seemingly unconnected things to think differently about something. But the immediate short thinking part, fast thinking, is often incorrect, and is really because of your life experience you're getting to it, and it's the lazy way of doing it. Whereas if you stop and think and have mindfulness, meditate on it, think about it, you're more likely to get to an accurate answer. What do you think about that?
I think it's all case by case. One of the first things that pop into my orbit about the approach of a situation I read about transgenerational trauma, and specifically this book, they were talking about study cases with the indigenous nations of this country, and the idea that there is this stereotype that there is alcoholism problem within the community sometimes. And so what I'm saying is this, because yes, if you already have a problem or an issue with consumption of alcohol and your relationship with this substance, well, there is an immediate thing to do. Like perhaps there's not a lot of time to be like, let's sit with this. Like the first step, it will be like, let's keep you out of harm, like harming yourself. So in that sense, I am pro, like, let's react.
Do something right away.
Yes. And when I read, and you, as you read this book, they're explaining like, okay, now we can do talking cure and go into like, why do you drink? Like, this is not a disease. It's a symptom of something. Because I feel angry. What do you feel angry about? And through the course of different sessions, he basically traces this anger through his lineage. My father, his father before him, and what are you mad about? Well, we got our land stolen or people killed, and that is tracing what the symptom comes from. So yes, I think both have to be considered. Yes, sometimes there's a need for an immediate action just to stable, and then from when you have that moment to pause, then you can be like, okay, let's evaluate.
Yes, I completely, but it takes some, I think, a commitment to go to that other step, because it is so relatively easy to just react and not take it more deeply. So it needs some self-control and
well, that's just like the world we live in now. Everything is instantaneous.
Yes, exactly.
So,
and this is why I don't know how to describe my work, because I have the background as like clinical psychology, and I, as I said before, I feel very grateful to have Western approaches to things.
And that must work, having that background when you're dealing with people that come to see you.
It does work, or it does help me to give me perspective. Like, for instance, and I want to talk on that's where I move from in the sense of what I'm here to offer, like this alternative way to approach healing. So as I said before, my teacher has a gift. The third eye is open. So she perceives and sees things in other realms. And at least she doesn't give me like references. This is, according to this is how energy works. Like, she doesn't go to that depth. She already takes for granted that what she sees and what she navigates, it is real.
It's real.
So in order for me to understand what's going on, because I was not born with this gift, when I asked her, will you initiate me? She was like, well, first you need to be vetted, like screened, like if your intentions are good. If we're going to give you power, as Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility. So you get vetted by her spirits. And once they see your intentions are good, then we all have a pineal gland. So we all have the hardware to develop and have access to these other realms. But the way that I need to navigate these new worlds, Spiritism has helped me a lot. Like reading Allan Kardec, the Book of the Spirits. Allan Kardec was a medium. I don't know if you have seen movies. There's actually a movie in Netflix that you could watch and explains more or less how this started in France.
What's the movie?
It's called it's Kardec. That's the name. Kardec.
How do you spell that?
I think it is Cardec.
Okay.
Kardec.
And basically it is people contacting spirits. And and he
Like ancient spirits or spirits like your dead mother or
yes,
okay.
like all of them.
Okay.
It can be someone who just transitioned 2 generations ago, someone who just transitioned. Like there is it is quite open. But here the point that I am trying to go is that the body works as a vessel, and there's some mediums and there's different kinds of manifestations of mediumship. But basically the body works as a vessel to connect and have this connection with spirit. In this case, one of his gifts for him in the way that his mediumship was manifested or expressed was psychography. Basically, you're taken by the spirit and you start writing, automatically writing. And different, depending on the spirit, the writing, the handwriting, it changes, and even the theme. So this book, the spirit's book, it is a conversation that he's having with this high evolved spirit that is describing how the dynamics take place in the astral. And there's doctor spirits and there's like hierarchies on things. So for instance, if a doctor here on earth transitions and takes with her this essence in the astral, you are granted permission to come back to earth, not incarnated, but as a spirit, and use mediums to help people to heal. And this is exactly
these are doctor spirits.
Doctor spirits. Okay. But this is a very French approach.
You're making him very happy right now.
Yes, actually, if you wanna, there is this movie. It's a Brazilian movie called No Solar, which is Astral City. You could actually find it on Amazon.
Okay,
or
Astral City.
Yes, unless you don't mind. Like I think you could find it also on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I don't like the YouTube version; it's like blurry. But they explain exactly from the spiritist standpoint how the astral works and how there's these hierarchies and these dynamics and different the energy dynamics on how the spirit is trying to evolve. Mm-hmm. And part of the evolution, it is some spirits come back to earth to help the evolution of humanity. How? Healing. But it is a whole dynamic. For instance, sometimes there is this idea that when you incarnate in a body, you already know what kind of life you're going to go through and what kind of challenges. You are choosing your parents. Like, you know exactly what's going on, what's going to happen. Like, you basically, it can be seen as, you know, the karma that you're going to come and burn.
That's what, I had a friend that lost her husband young. He was young, I think, 35 maybe. And she met with a medium, the wife, and her husband was there and said that they had already chose this life and that he was going to leave it at this time. And that was all planned ahead of time.
Yes. So
it was all.
So this book kind of like tells you, explains how these dynamics, because even this gives you the understanding that these shamans, these curanderos, curanderas, they see healing in a different way. Sometimes helping you heal is helping you to transition faster. Like, not necessarily get you healthy, but like, okay, your spirit has already this contract. Move on. So kind of like anchoring this into what's what I do. The training, the initiation that I have gone through these past 12 years is to get out of my own way, basically. And you, in my case, I don't consider myself a practicing medium per se, but more like a practicing channel. There's a little bit of nuances.
There's a difference there?
Yes, I just in a very simple way, a medium will actually see or be able to incorporate the spirit. In channel is more like you have an antenna that is receiving insights. Okay. And you know your guides are there and they are the ones telling you what to do, what's going on. That's why I call it intuitive healing, because yes, like you're like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. And it doesn't make sense to me. And that's the thing. you're not listening, trying to make logic. Like I'm in front of the person and I'm like, this is what's going on. But you need to really do meditation. Like the training to be a channel is to not have what another of my teachers call excited imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what I believe is happening.
Yeah.
I just received this message. No. The minute that your mind starts playing you tricks, that is not good. So that's what I do. Basically, I receive some insights.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I communicate, or sometimes I do energy work, or sometimes I will prescribe a ritual or something like. And there's differences, like also baths, herbal baths.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yes. So basically, that's what happens. You are just communicating the insights that you receive. Sometimes people, they know what you're talking about, even if it doesn't make sense to you. And that sometimes has the effect of moving or shifting energy. Sometimes just the body energy moves emotions. What it has happened more in my experience is the emotional and spiritual part. There is healers in the same lineage that I walk that they are very in the physical. People go to see them like, I have cancer. And there's some people that believe that they can be healed through those routes. I am not endorsing this, but there's some people that have, or communities go to them for that reason, because they have seen other people getting better in like physical.
Right.
What about the use of other, I would probably call them medicines is best rather than medications, but ayahuasca and cacao? What you use those in your practice?
So I've been studying this form of spirituality. I want to say a form, because spirituality is, everything can be spiritual as long as you bring presence to it. So because I was explaining, I was not born with the third eye open. Like I don't see dead people, or I don't see angels, or I don't see these subtle energies and my teacher can see these subtle energies and hear these voices. So that's on one side. And the other side is like, there's healing within myself. I'm not a complete person. Like I have many faults. I have my very, very dark shadow that I have to acknowledge. So I am working on myself. So when I first approached ayahuasca, it was more as a self-healing approach.
What is ayahuasca?
Ayahuasca, I will call it, is a plant medicine.
Okay.
It is a entheogen, psychoactive medicine that the psychoactive is DMT.
Is it a herb? Is it a?
It is made by two different plants. One is jagubi, which is a vine, and the jagubi has these. It has the enzymes for us to be able to break down the psychoactive in the leaf. The leaf is called in Brazil rainha, the queen, and also I think the most well-known term is chacruna, and that's the one that has the DMT in it. So basically, they have to be together, at least for us as humans, to be able to work. Like
so you ingest it.
You ingest it. You drink. It's kind of like a tea.
Okay.
It's a beverage. So once it kicks in, you get access to these altered states of consciousness. If you want to see it from where I see it, it also opens you up to spirit. And that's exactly, not only for my own healing, I went for that. I also, in these experiences, I started seeing what my teacher had been talking to me about. I saw all the energy dynamics, all these nuances in energy. So the cognition of recognizing this became more clear. So I started drinking ayahuasca for two reasons: to do my own healing and to kind of like, like to study, like, oh my God, this is how the energy is moving, or this is what the spirit, because you'll have these experiences where you actually feel the room is full with entities. And then there's also there are nuances on the energy that they carry. So the explanation I'm giving is from a place of spiritism. Like, it is a big element of the perception in my experience of ayahuasca. There's some people and there's some approaches that they don't take this approach to ayahuasca. Like, for instance, the Shipibo, which are the people who practice ayahuasca in the Amazon part of Peru, they have a different approach. They drink, you're in the darkness, and the ayahuasqueras will be singing Ícaros. Ícaros are these songs that carry frequencies, and different kinds of frequencies that will invite different kinds of energy. Healing of fear, healing of heart-breaking wounds, physical. Like, there is, they channel this. Like, in what I say, they're channeled because it's not like they are writing this. They just all of a sudden like connect with source and they start singing, and then eventually they do learn them. But it's not like, oh, I am gonna go today, I'm gonna sing this Ícaro. It's not planned. It's like what it is in the room.
It just comes out.
Yes.
It just comes out.
For one person.
Yeah.
So that in ayahuasca, that's why I started drinking ayahuasca. Cacao.
Now, is that like the same as microdosing, or is that a different thing?
Microdosing is a different thing.
So ayahuasca, you just go make yourself this little tea, let's call it, and you sip it, and
so even the process of making ayahuasca is very holy. Very holy. It's not just making a tea. It is the person or the people who are making ayahuasca, and I'm going to speak of what I know. There's different approaches. I drink ayahuasca in this specific religious approach called Santo Daime. Santo Daime, which means holy, give me.
Okay.
It's a Portuguese word for yes. And there's a whole ritual on how to make ayahuasca. Like, they go and collect the yagubi, they go and collect the leaf, and when they're drinking ayahuasca, and when they have to wash every single leaf, and they're already in the influence of ayahuasca, so they're praying, and also there's music, there's musicians playing live. These hymns are these songs that also are channeled, like just like a download. It's not like you were like, I am feeling inspired and talk about Mother Earth. And then like all of a sudden you're like, boom, you just receive it and you're singing. So carry this energy. So when you are making ayahuasca, it is being blessed with all these blessings. So basically, there's a hymn, there's a song that says there's divine beings transform into liquid. Like this type of alchemy. So when you're drinking ayahuasca, it's not just a tea. You're drinking a sacrament that opens you.
It's a ceremony.
It is a ceremony. And always you drink ayahuasca or in Santo Daime in the proper container.
Yeah.
Like, there is protocols. And those protocols come a lot from spiritism. They know how to open space and call in spirits and call in protection and call in healing and call in doctor spirits. And also ayahuasca, in this case, Santo Daime, is the one that is doing the healing with the help and support of entities, benevolent spirits.
So you do this in an organized way.
Yes, it's well
You don't
organized.
just wake up in the morning and have, okay.
No, there's calendars and there's reasons, there's protocols, like not just a ceremony, like there's specific ceremonies for a specific thing. So that is what ayahuasca comes to, and that's why I drink ayahuasca, because it has allowed me to understand what my teacher talks to me and has taught me. Not more than the understanding, but to be able to see and have a better cognition of what is happening. Because sometimes if I didn't have that, I will be more into a place of like intuition and just trusting that what I'm doing is kind of like happening. With this, I'm like, oh, I see what she was talking about. Like you see the colors or everything like things like that.
So you said previously when we talked and communicated that you were initiated by a medium and a medicine woman.
Yes.
That has been the same person all along?
Yes.
Okay. And how frequently do you communicate or see that person?
It depends. But I will say at least one, like every other week.
Okay.
Like we do Zooms. This is the amazing part of the Western part. Like the world became very small, and I can just Zoom with her. But she actually has to go to my parents because the kind of energy that she carries breaks all the electronics. So she doesn't have a computer because it always breaks. Her phone never works. So she has to come to my parents because she's there just while she's giving me my class, and then she leaves.
Wow.
Yeah, it is quite interesting the things that happen when you're around her energy. But yes, for the past 12 years, and sometimes when I go back and see my parents, I do have my sessions with her in person, which are way more powerful than in a virtual way. Yes, but I still study because it is a never ending. Some people have sometimes asked me if I will teach them, and energetically speaking, from this spiritist way to explain things, I am not allowed yet to do so because I'm still under the wing of someone else.
Okay.
So in a way, whatever mistake I make, a big mistake, she pays for it and she has to take care of it. And not only that, we work with the line of light. The line of light, it sometimes takes a lot of patience. Like magic doesn't happen just like this, like in a second. Sometimes it takes patience. And like anything else, there's the spectrum. And there's people who work with different kind of energies that are faster. And Mexico, and this is very well known. And here in the US, you also will see that there's people who do, like, they do rituals to fast track, like calling in abundance, calling in some other kind of things. So when I'm saying this is because there's other dynamics that are involved that I don't want to get into because that's taking us, but just to bring awareness that there's many ways, there's many other realms of what there's interactions of different worlds. But there's people who actually do work with people will call black magic. And why I'm mentioning that, because when you are doing the work that I am doing under my teacher's guidance, sometimes you get across with some of this. And she is the one who gives me protection. That's why I could not take on someone if I don't know how to protect them or get them out of where they are.
Yeah, when I was thinking when you were talking, okay, if you're there and you're receptive to these spirits and these frequencies, and you're talking about them all as though they're good.
Yes.
And not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Exactly. Okay. So that is the thing. When you're opened, you're opening for everything. So that's why when in Ayahuasca and the Santo Daime setting, they are masters at these protocols because they create a safe container where they're just calling in very specific energies. And yet sometimes some energies that they're not so welcome come, but they don't take it as a bad thing. Sometimes they take it as they're coming to activate something within someone that will make them see the darkness that they have with them.
Yeah.
And or sometimes there are spirits that need illumination to move from a different to to transition to where they belong or they need to go. But by this, you already have people who is prepared on this to help and assist. So I am a baby on that. That's why my teacher is like, no, you cannot be teaching if you cannot take care of this person, because then I will have to take care of you and take care of, because you create karma, there's nuances in all of this.
You mentioned DMT.
Yes.
What is DMT?
Oh my God, I am very not well known in this on the chemical components.
Okay.
I am not well versed on this, but basically it is a molecule. It's called the God molecule, and what it does is it opens up your third eye, and makes you be in touch with these other realms. Like as we were talking a little bit about ketamine, it shows you that what you thought existed, it's not that it's not real, but it's not the way you thought it was. It shows you that it's more beyond that. So there is other things beyond the material and three-dimensional plane that we exist.
And do you know what the DMT stands for? What the full name is?
No, I mean,
Okay.
Yes, if I heard it, but
Hold on, let me Google that for
yes,
you.
please, thank you. See, this is why I don't talk about ayahuasca in the sense that I teach about ayahuasca, because I'm really bad with these kind of like little things. I know, and I'm very focused on the energetic nuances of it.
Okay.
Like that, I am well versed, but the technicalities, I'm not your guy.
Tell us about cacao.
Cacao. I love cacao because number one is legal.
Okay.
You can drink cacao at home, and it's also a plant medicine.
Yeah.
It's a plant medicine. They make a paste, and that is ceremonial grade, so it's not processed. So you get all the nutrients, and like it's very raw. So you make a beverage with this. Yes.
What it is. It's dime Here, you read it. It's not long word.
Exactly. That's why I don't know it.
Oh,
Dime.
dimethyltryptamine.
That. Yes.
I knew he would say it right.
Yes.
I was going to mess it up completely.
I was going to do
It
so.
was going to
That's
be
why
8 million syllables if I said it.
Yes.
Dimethyltryptamine is a component, DMT is a component of the ayahuasca brew traditionally used for ritual and therapeutic purposes across several, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Might be the weirdest drug in the world. But it's active, the active ingredient in ayahuasca, but on its own, DMT. Yes, there's definitely more to read here.
Yes. It is a whole, you can talk about that for like hours.
Yeah.
But cacao works with subtle energies. And like with the psychotropics and entheogens, there's a very strong altered state of consciousness that you have access to. With cacao, it's a very subtle and loving experience.
How do you take cacao?
So you have this ceremonial grade. That's why if you want to have the access,
The real thing.
And where do you get this?
Well,
Amazon?
you could actually.
No, in the Amazon. Not on
in the Amazon, yes. I source mine from a friend of mine. His name is Ido, and he has a beautiful company called Misperception. Misperception. And he gets his cacao from Peru and Costa Rica. And he's making sure that he knows the sources and like consciously.
I'm going to write this down. Actually, text me that when we're done.
I will. Yes.
Give me his info.
But, like, ethically sourced. Like it's very important for him. So you make a beverage. And it's a beverage that has been consumed by indigenous nations in this continent for forever.
When do people consume it? Is there a best time?
Well, I will say no, there's not a best time. The best time is when you can make space and time to be fully present with the ritual of having cacao.
But does it like keep you awake?
Oh, well, yes. So, okay, that is thank you for that question. It contains, the active ingredient is theobromine. It does also have a little bit of caffeine. So it's a stimulant.
Okay.
So if you drink a lot, yes, it can get you like awake.
Yeah.
Awake. Compared to coffee that you get a rush and then you drop.
Yeah.
With cacao, it's consistent. Like it's a very like steady and energy feeling, but it can be intense. So for instance, there's cacao ceremonies and they will drink 2 big mugs of cacao and very concentrated. Why they do that? Because it does bring your awareness to your emotions. to, in other words, or more esoteric word language, it opens up your heart chakra. It puts you in touch with this. This is where the level of where it works from. And one of the things I have encountered with my practice is that the body keeps tabs of everything. Like the body doesn't lie. Whatever emotion, whatever thing that you experience and it was not properly processed, it gets storage in the body. And that's why we somatize sometimes. We didn't process these emotions, these experiences properly. So cacao allows you to get in touch with these energies. Sometimes I started drinking cacao in the mornings, and I had 2 mugs, and because I was trying to get familiar with cacao. And I remember calling my father and feeling all of a sudden the effect of the cacao, and we're just talking, and I am sobbing.
Yeah.
Everything that I am talking to my father, I feel love and I feel compassion, and I'm just tearing up.
Wow.
So I understood, and you can feel the warmth, and thanks to my experience in ayahuasca and the work that my teacher has taught me, I can feel the energy of the plant. You can feel it's like a very feminine and subtle and loving energy. So that's why I like working with cacao. I when I do hold ceremonies, I don't give a lot of cacao to people. Because,
okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Is this part of what you do with people?
Yes.
Okay.
So I will just offer them enough for them to feel it.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to drink it, because not everybody likes it, you don't have to. But the idea is to create a container where the energy that we're working is cacao.
Is it just like a really bitter taste?
It can be very bitter if the way that we make it is with oat milk. And we use the one that doesn't have all the oils.
Yes.
Like it's just oat and water and a little bit of honey. Because yes, it can be very bitter. And we just serve a little bit. And that sometimes is enough for people to, like, for instance, if you have it at night, you'll be up for a little bit. Depending on how much you drink.
You won't have it at night.
Yeah, but if you drink it in the morning, it's amazing. Like, I stopped actually drinking coffee. Because number one, and I didn't do it like talking about ayahuasca. One of the ayahuasca is like showing or pouring light into the parts that you need to work on. And every time I was drinking ayahuasca, the light was being shed at coffee. Like it is it's really stressing your central nervous system. It is not good for your gut right now. You're having a lot of acid reflux. Why you keep drinking? And then you get, because your central nervous system is really stressed, you get really moody or you get very irritable. But I didn't stop until one day it just came. And I started drinking cacao, and it gives me the energy that I wanted to get from coffee, but also gets me in a mood that I'm like more calm in the morning.
Great.
Yes.
I really need some cacao.
Yes. It's really, I love it.
We'll be getting some.
I think I have the same, what you just described. Sometimes I feel like I should not be drinking coffee.
Yeah.
But I like the energy it gives me. And I think I do like the ritual of, just that between us, like we get up in the morning and we have coffee and we talk about the day and plan the day and like, you know what I mean? It's just something we do, but to try cacao in the morning.
Absolutely. And that was part of me drinking coffee, because I like the ritual.
Yeah.
But now I do that with cacao, because here the part that's very important for me, it is the ritual.
Yeah.
Because it brings awareness, it brings presence to the present moment. Like,
yeah. Even if you don't have to do it every day. I mean, you don't have to completely give up coffee. You can just kind of play around with adding in the cacao.
Yes.
A few days a week, but then if you felt better.
Well, see,
did you feel better just giving up coffee?
Oh, yes. That I did feel better, but now I don't drink cacao. I started drinking cacao every day. Now I'm just gave myself just every time I needed, because I don't want to get into just for habit.
Yeah.
I want to do it consciously,
Okay.
which is part of, in reality, that's my approach to spirituality, consciousness. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you do, as long as, because sometimes, yes, I'm working as a channel and I give insights and, well, I communicate the insights that I receive. But the one thing that I have experienced that is the most important in any kind of healing is presence. It is awareness.
Absolutely.
It's consciousness.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you do. In the end, that's what it's all about. Like to be in the present moment, because you can be talking about spirits, you can be talking about this and that, but if you are not like, if you don't know where's your center, if you're not like here, like in reality, anxiety and depression is whether you're in the future or you're in the past. When I do, and this is my experience with ayahuasca, not ayahuasca, on my own, I have had moments where I just stay still and breathe, and all the problems that I feel I have, and they're vanished even for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that gives you, it's a breath, like allows you to reset, and then gives you a fresh perspective of things. And that's why I try to incorporate into my practice. Like, yes, my teacher and the spirit world, it is present, yes, but in the end, who knows if it does exist? What I'm certain that exists. I mean, I'm certain that exists, but in the present moment, it's you being with you. That is the highest form of spirituality. Be connected to your breath. That's where lives come from. The last, you don't have a breath, there's no more life. So that is the source of life. So that's exactly where I like to anchor when I am in my good moments. I'm human. Do you want to hear a very quick story on how I used to have this idea that a healer should be someone who is almost like a perfect human.
Yeah.
And
there's no such thing.
I know, but I was like, I was 20 years old and I was very idealist. Like, this is how things work, and you teach by example. So the first time I met someone like my teacher, and I met her years before I met my teacher. Well, actually, this is not true. I have known my teacher since I was a kid because she was my neighbor. But I'm talking about years before I got initiated by her. My aunt had this woman who helped her clean her house. Very happy woman, always talking and chatty and laughing. But when she was done working, she will go outside in the sidewalk. And this is in Mexico, so you have context. And she will have beers with the neighbors and get drunk. But it was a happy drunk, like, hey, neighbor, what's up? Hey, like just giggling and singing. And one day my aunt told me to go and see her because I needed some kind of like spiritual help. I'm like, her? Like, she gets drunk every evening. How is she gonna help me? Like, I was very judgmental. But I was like, sure, like, you're vouching for her, I'll go and see her. And she will not drink on Fridays because that was her day to do her healing. So I went to see her on a Friday, and she sees me and she's like giggling and all that. And the minute that we cross the threshold to the room that she works on, a different person. You could not recognize her. Her voice changes, the way you see her changes, the energy in the room changes, and all of a sudden she's talking to me about things that I have never shared with anybody.
Wow.
So why am I saying this story? Because when you're a medium, when you're a channel, it is very arrogant of you to think that you are the one healing people. It's very arrogant. Like, I am a healer. Even just saying I am a healer is very arrogant, because you are saying I am the one healing. In Spiritism, which is where I am based, is you are not doing the healing. You're a vessel.
Yeah.
You're a channel. You're a medium. Benevolent spirits are doing this healing through you. Through you. So you could be a mess. You could be a mess. And once you connect, all that's gone. Of course, there's nuances to it, like how you live your life and how you treat your brothers and sisters. Like there is nuances to that. Yes, you cannot just be like doing whatever you want and like all
Right. You can't be a train wreck completely.
Exactly. But also, some big healers have had very big falls and they learn from that. And it actually carries a lot of it. Because one of my teachers says that the higher you get, the temptation or the tests are stronger.
Yeah.
And you will fall mostly. Like this is kind of like he says, don't assume that you will never be challenged or that you will not fall into this. You will. You're very human. So one more thing I will add, and I'll stop. There is this energy in the pantheon of the Yoruban people. The entities here are called orishas, and there's this entity called the Eshu. The Eshu is this archetype that invites conflict. And invites conflict because you can grow out of conflict. And it's the archetype or is the energy that also takes care of the shadow. And why am I mentioning this? Because we're talking about spirit or spirituality, spiritism, and we're talking about light. And we're talking about healing. And sometimes we think about healing like, oh, I want to be a better person. But in order to be a better person, it's not about being better. So see, sometimes morality plays a very limiting factor in healing. So the issue, what does is bring awareness that you have a dark side, like that perhaps you're wounded, that you are manipulative, that you are a liar, that you are all these things. And what the issue brings is an invitation for you to love yourself in completion. Like the word divine means complete. So you cannot really love yourself if you don't love every single part of yourself. That doesn't mean that, okay, I know that I am a manipulative person, and that doesn't mean that you're going to keep doing it. Like you just are recognizing this trait within you.
Yeah.
So that is very important in healing, because the minute that you are not negating that these traits are within you, that makes you a very complete person. And when you're complete, there's acceptance. For any kind of healing, you need to accept. In the Eastern philosophy and spirituality, like one of the big problems for the human being is the desire or not wanting to accept what is happening. That's why I always go back to the present moment.
Yeah.
Accept what is there. When you want things to be different, that's when there's conflict. Things cannot be different. So if you accept what is where you are at, you have a better possibility of transformation.
Well, yeah, too. And it's like everybody has a dark side. I mean, I raised a daughter. She's 21 now. But growing up, she would have these thoughts. And, she used to question. I mean, you know how kids are. They would go, she was a very sensitive child. And I would explain, everyone has a light and a dark. Like that is normal. You can't question who you are because you have a dark thought, or that's just a part of it, part of being human.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My father used to say to me, I would rather to be a complete man than a good man. In the sense that I recognize the shadow in me.
Yeah.
I love it. It doesn't necessarily mean that I will keep doing, I try to be a better person in the sense that a better person, not to gain acceptance of other people, but like to feel better, to have a sense of wellness. Like if you can accept that you have some darkness, some shadow, and you can work on it, perfect. So, and why am I mentioning this? Because it's very important in the healing process, and also it's very important for people who play, and I'm saying playing because in reality you have no control. Like I do my best to be a channel for these entities to come through. but I do have my very bad mistakes. Like I'm a human,
Mhm.
and I always try to or strive to do it, like to be in integrity. I have not been in integrity all my life, and I learned from that, and it's a big ego crusher. But that's I have a teacher, and I call teachers because I like going to people and learn. My teacher here in the U.S. his name is Cacoa, and he likes to say this: stand in your weakness. Stand in your weakness. Say, this is who I am. Like, just get naked. Like,
Yeah.
this is who I am. I'm a liar. I'm a cheater. I am this. You see what, but also like in that moment empowers you and empowers others to also accept their humanity and themselves, and to be like, yes, and from sometimes we're lying because we don't want our darkness to be seen because we are ashamed by that,
Right.
which is what the issue brings.
Yeah.
Don't be ashamed of that,
Yeah.
because you will be surprised that instead of being judged, when you are in that level of vulnerability and honesty, you receive a lot of compassion and love. Like, and this is why it's very important in the healing community to be able to not be, when you say I'm a mess, and I this is who I am.
Yeah.
That means I am not perfect. And some people can trust more a person who's like, yeah. To those who are just like, look at me, I float here, and I wear beautiful clothing, and I talk in this way. No, like more, I don't know, this brings the very human part.
I know. I think it scares people though, because, if you have a moment of, gosh, I'm just a mess right now. I think I said that like a week ago. And I don't think you knew what to do, because it's rare that I blurt out such a thing. But I think people get uncomfortable when people declare that they're a mess, because they don't want to look at the fact that they may be a mess as well. So, and also social media and everything we're looking at in front of us all day is showing perfection most of the time.
Absolutely.
And it makes you feel like, wow, why can't my life look like, you know what I mean? But it's not real. It's not real.
I apologize for bringing this up in a time when we don't have a lot of time to talk about it. But tell me about PALMA Colectiva.
PALMA Colectiva. Oh my God.
Well, we're going to have Meredith on.
Okay. Do you want
on
to
a separate episode?
Yes.
Then be brief.
It can be brief. I sometimes butcher her vision and description of PALMA Colectiva, but it's a collective to create a space to invite people in the community to offer their gifts, like their offerings, to a wellness and mindfulness approaches, like different kind of art healing modalities.
Okay.
Like whether it's massage, sacrocranial, Reiki, cacao ceremonies, meditation, Kundalini. There's so many, and it's amazing because it creates a container where it creates community, and when you are, we're trying to be diverse and inclusive. Like whoever wants to come, like Meredith is a magnet for people to they want to collaborate with her. Like, and she's very open, and she really tries to not have it like it's all yoga, or no, like she wants different practitioners, because every single person has a different energy signature and something very specific, very loving to offer to people. There's different kinds of medicine, so that's what PALMA it is about, to bring healing in this subtle way. I mean, saying subtle because it doesn't bring like the component of ayahuasca or these, but it's subtle energies that do impact people's life. Like they impact the wellness that they can experience. Like there's a moment to just, in this very fast-paced world, to just take a moment to breathe and be in touch and go within, like going within to
Yeah.
breathe. So that's that's how I will describe Palma. Like, of course, Meredith makes it super fun. Like she has a beautiful and amazing ideas, but in essence, this is what she's trying to offer: a space for healing for the community.
Yeah. I can't wait to collaborate with Palma and have Meredith on, which I know we're going to be doing soon. So more to come on that.
Yes.
Thank you very, very much. It's really been entertaining and wonderfully
Educating, enlightening.
All of the above.
Yeah.
And just food for thought.
Yes. Thank you very much for the opportunity of being here, because I am not speaking for myself. I am speaking on behalf of a lot of beautiful souls out there that offer this kind of work. I know people that do have integrity, and like they're actually studying. They're not just going on a retreat for a weekend and coming back and trying to be healers. Like, this is a lifestyle, and also offers people who are looking for healing, whether it's emotional, whether it's actual physical or spiritual. It offers a more holistic approach. I believe in holistic. I don't believe in one thing is the answer. All of it. Like, just to begin with, for me, it is, if you take care of the body first, it is easier. That it is going to impact the way you feel and the way you think. Because the other way around is way more difficult.
Yeah.
You will have to be a master of meditation to really
reverse that.
Yes, like oh my God, I know what am I thinking, and how is this impacting the perception of reality. Therefore, it's impacting how I feel and how my body feels. It is a way harder way to get to a sense of wellness. But yes, I thank you very much for having me here. I hope I was a little clear, because I go in tangents.
No, I thought you were really clear, and I think
really
you
good.
are the real deal. And what's happening right now in the world is people are just hanging a plaque outside their door that they are this.
Yes.
And everyone believes they are that, but they don't really have the substance behind it to really be that. It's all marketing and, but it's not true again. So I thought you were great in describing what the process is like with people working with you, what your background is, and how you came to this.
Yeah, and not only me.
Beautiful story.
Other
really.
people have the same approach.
Yeah.
Like, they have the same approach. And, always comes to, it is the person who is seeking healing, the one who is going to heal itself, him or herself, or because the healers don't do it.
Right.
Even spirit don't do it. They're just helping you to
heal yourself.
In reality, that's where healing comes from.
Yeah.
Within. It doesn't come from anywhere else. You're just here supporting that process.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really great.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for listening. We're getting really good feedback. We'd really appreciate a review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. Thank you. You can always DM the Vagina Doctor Instagram with any questions or topics you'd like to learn more about, or email us. The Vagina Doctor Podcast. It all starts here.